What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Waiver Wirequeen. In today's episode, we are going to do a full Superflex mock draft. Yes, that is right. We're going to do a full draft. This is going to take forever and a day, y'all, but we are going to get through this. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and your notifications are turned on. I have no idea what I want to do in this draft. I have the third pick, and I never pick in the top 5 in most of the leagues that I've been in. So this is new to me, guys. It's new. I'm shocked. I don't even know what to do. But I do know that in this league, the quarterbacks and the tight ends are going to go fast as hell. If you're looking for a player like Jamar Chase in this draft, if I wanted Jamar Chase, I would have to take him with the third pick, because by the time it gets back around to me, I won't be able to get him. But naturally, I'm not going to take a wide receiver right here at pick number 3. So I'm most likely either going conservative with a running back, or I'm going to grab my franchise quarterback. But let's jump right into this draft and see exactly what the Waiver Wire Queen does. And you guys will help me with this draft. So let's get into it. So the mock draft that we're doing is obviously going to be on a sleeper app. That is where we're hosting our Startup Dynasty League. And again, I'm looking forward to this draft because, again, this league is very competitive with some really good managers, with some really good fantasy players. Now, everyone in this league is highly competitive, and they have at least won a few leagues. Most people in this league have won. We don't have anyone in here who hasn't been around the fantasy scene for at least a minimum of 5 years and are highly competitive and knowledgeable about football and the whole fantasy football process. So again, this is a competitive league. Obviously, I'm the only female in this league. Would love to see more females in our fantasy leagues, but nonetheless, I'm the only one, but I hold my own. Let's get this draft going. So again, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't even know what anyone else is planning on doing in this draft. But one thing I do know is somebody's taking a quarterback in this first round. And I do believe the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks will be drafted in the first round of this draft. That is simply what is going to happen. Again, I don't know what anyone else is going to do. So I am not going to set their player or select their player with the first or the second pick. And let's just jump right into it. It's going to be a long draft, but we are going to get through this. Again, Jonathan Taylor is considered one of the top 5 players in this draft. Shocking as hell that for this is a super flex league. I'm not surprised by Taylor, but I'm a little bit surprised by Chase, but not shocked. But nonetheless, this helps me make an easy decision. I'm going to go with Josh Allen as my franchise quarterback. Again, this is not surprising, and this is simply how it may go. Although I don't think Chase will go at 2, but this is what I envision for this draft in the first round. Several quarterbacks will be gone. So unless I'm content with a quarterback at pick 210 and who may be available, I most likely have to grab a quarterback early. But if I had to pick Deshaun Watson and he was still available, I wouldn't be mad, because I expect him to come back and I expect Deshaun Watson to be good. I get really nervous when it comes to running backs, so I may look at a running back here, but I want to see who's available at the wide receiver position. I would have what I'm going to do here is this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go with Austin Eckler. He is a PPR machine. He had over 700 receiving, probably over almost 1,000 rushing yards, I believe. Had a hell of a season with 16, 17, maybe even 18 touchdowns. So let's see if my plan is going to work. So this is my plan. So I wanted to pair my guy, and I know I'm scrolling down a bit. So I want to pair my guy with his guy. So I'm adding Allen and Diggs. So this is really strange with 3 wide receivers here. But again, these guys have already made several trades in this draft. So although this is team 4 trust when I tell you it's different people, because these guys have made so many trades. I think there's one guy in the league, he doesn't even pick to round 6 in a startup, because he traded for several firsts in the 2023 draft, which for him, hey, that's fine, but that's just something that I wouldn't do. I'm not touching Saquon Barkley at all. Again, with the quarterbacks all gone, I still see value here. It's getting real ugly with the quarterback position, but I'm not even going to panic, because I feel like, hey, I have my guy. This is a 2 tight end league. So right here, do I want to go with Kittle? I still feel like Kittle is the top 5 guy. I can go with Darren Waller. With Kittle, for me, he's always in and out of the lineup, which is very stressful. I think Darren Waller is going to have a bounce back season, so I'm going to take him. However, if I was to come back around and Kittle was still there, I would have taken him. I do feel like so far I am making the right moves. Do I envision Garrett Wilson as one of the starters? I like Drake London over Garrett Wilson, so I'm just going to go with Drake London. And once it comes back around, I'll most likely look at some running backs, because I do get stressed when it comes to running backs. I don't like having just one guy. And again, with Austin Eckler, he's a small back PPR machine, but he's small as hell, and you already know the injuries. So Josh Jacob, I had him on my trade running backs, because if you look at his stats, every year his stats have gone down. Each season carries a career low. So his stats are going down statistically, but he's still not a bad back to draft in this round. I got him in the 6th round. So to me, that was great value in the 6th round. I could look at players like Hopkins. You see Jerry Jeudy here, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper. What I want to do is check and see what tight ends are there, which still there are good value at tight end. And then you got running backs, Michael Carter. Let's see what quarterbacks here. Some young quarterbacks. So my second quarterback, which in the real draft, I definitely won't wait as late to draft. My second quarterback for this draft, I want to get one of these wide receivers, because I'm going to go wide receiver heavy. So I can either go with the Hopkins, Jerry Jeudy. These guys are still in a good age. You got Hopkins at 29. I want to make sure for this dynasty draft that I do come away with some very good young players. Jerry Jeudy is 21. Then Mike Evans is another good player. He's 28. So these players are all going to be high impact players for me. But I'm just going to go with Jerry Jeudy here, and I'm going with him. One of the main reasons is I think his best season is going to come because he has a legit quarterback. So that is what I am banking on. I know most people would have went with Hopkins or with Evans, but I am banking on, because he is 22, and I feel like I'll have more time with him. And again, I feel like he is a way better wide receiver than what he has shown. And some of that is not on him. So let's see. I can look at quarterback, because I think there's still some good quarterbacks here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and add Dalton Schultz here, and then when it comes back around, I may look at a quarterback or another running back. There's still some really good tight ends here. I do like Gesicki this year. I really do. I like him a lot. Noah Fant, if he would have stayed with Denver and had Russell Wilson, I would have been like, yeah, I really like him. I don't know who their quarterback is going to be. So if it's going to be Drew Lock, I see him doing the same as what he was doing with Denver because of Drew Lock. Again, I'm not high on Drew Lock. I'm not high on Miles Sanders because he is always hurt. So I'm staying away from him. I can use a quarterback here. And let's see what we have. We have Kirk Cousins, Sam Howell, which I'm just not going to do it. So what I really want to do is look here at a running back. I do believe in James Conner as the starter now because, hell, they got rid of Chase Edmonds, didn't retain him. And I don't feel like there's anyone else on that roster who's going to be a starting back over him or is going to cut into his carries by a lot. I just don't see that. Now, quarterback. Again, we still have Kirk Cousins. I'm not a big fan of Kirk Cousins, but he's productive in fantasy. He simply is. And that's one of the reasons why I'm adding him to my team. He's very productive. Tyler Lockett, I expect his stats to go down slightly because, again, when you look at it, you look at the Denver wide receivers and what they were able to do with Drew Lock as the quarterback, it was a challenge. But I'm hoping that they bring someone else in, and adding Tyler Lockett in round 11 is to me is good value. So that is one of the reasons why I went with him. Chase Edmonds, that's great value in my opinion. Robinson, that's another good pick. Let's see who else is here. We got a lot of young players. Robert Woods, I do believe, will have a really good year, but it just depends on when he's going to come back. Don't know when he's going to come back, so that's going to be one of the keys in determining where you draft him. But drafting him, it's not bad. Some other players, I do like the rookie Tolbert. Again, I want to add some young players here as well because I don't want to have an old team for this draft. So I'm definitely going to look at some of the younger players. I'm having some trouble with scrolling here on this app, but nonetheless, we're gonna make it do. If I can get in, I'll be able to pick my guy, but from the way the app is not allowing me to pick, I'm just gonna have to pick a player here. I wanted to go back and look and see what was available with the wide receivers, but I'm not able to do that, and so I'm gonna look at the running back position and most likely select a running back. Right now, when I look, I don't want to draft Cordell Patterson. This is a startup league for me, so I'm simply gonna try to go young with some of my next picks. Robert Woods is hey, I know what you can do, and I know what the potential is playing alongside AJ Brown, and I'm hoping that it's going to work in my favor. Hunter Henry was, to me, Matt Jones' favorite target and the most reliable target considering what he was able to do. Melvin Gordon wouldn't be a bad pick, but right now we just want to see what team he's gonna go to. So I'm staying away from DJ Chark. Don't pick him. And again, I want to add another tight end because this is a deep tight end league, and I would say if you are in a 2 tight end league, you should at least you have to have a minimum of 3, but 4 is my preference in a 2 tight end league. So you really need to look at that. Chris Carson, I'm staying away from him, but if you do happen to draft Chris Carson, I would handcuff him to Rashard Penny because obviously we already know that they both be out with injuries. They both suffer with injuries. At the end of the day, with Rashard Penny, he ended up having a very good season at the second half towards the end of the season. So he's a player that I would handcuff if I'm drafting Chris Carson because I just don't trust and I'm not confident in Chris Carson's health. I'm going to take a chance on Ronald Jones because he signed with the Chiefs, and I do believe he'll be in the mix more than most envisioned because Clyde Edwards-Helaire, to me, his stock is down. He hasn't really taken that starting job, and his stats have gone down, and you see other guys were ahead of him in the playoffs, and they add Ronald Jones. So that is the only reason I'm taking Ronald Jones, because he's not somebody I draft. Russell Gage should have a nice season with Tom Brady, but I'm simply not drafting him. Now, I can look at tight end. I like the young Brevin Jordan, so he's somebody I would take. Again, I have 4 tight ends now on my team, so I most likely won't look at another tight end unless there's someone very late that I can look for. If not, I'll add another one if it's something that's just like I'm like, wow, this is a good tight end. Logan Thomas should have a nice bounce back season with Carson Wentz, because we do know when Carson Wentz played for the Eagles, he did get the ball to Zach Ertz, and when Goddard played, he got it to him. So I think Logan Thomas should have a nice bounce back year. We're going to cross our fingers. I'm not drafting Raheem Mostert because he's always hurt, and I just don't trust that he's going to be healthy enough for me to draft him on my team. So for my draft, I'm going to stay the hell away from him. Now I'm gonna look at some other. I'm staying away from Corey Davis. So basically, with this draft, I'm just telling y'all players who you should stay away from, as well as drafting. Naturally, my team is gonna be a little bit different than what I'm doing here today, but again, I'm staying away from Corey Davis. I didn't think it was a good idea for the Jets to draft to sign him for all of that money, but they did. So I'm just gonna go with a young quarterback here because I do need to add a young quarterback. And I could have added a player. But again, I'm not high on Raheem Mostert. Van Jefferson should be solid, but I don't see that he's going to do anything so much better than what he did this year. So let's look at the wide receivers that are available. You got Jarvis Landry. Again, I want some young players. I don't feel like the value is there at the wide receiver spot right now. So I'm not even looking at any of these guys. I'm going to look elsewhere, see if there's value at the running back position or the tight end position. I do like Logan Thomas this year. Let's see if there's another young quarterback I would take, or another starting quarterback, because this is a 2-quarterback league. So I'm gonna reach a little bit. I'm not drafting Carson Wentz over. I'm not drafting Carson Strong over Daniel Jones or Carson Wentz. So I'm gonna go and draft Carson Wentz because I do believe he will be able to help me if I was to draft him for this league. And you see a bunch of quarterbacks going in this round. Again, I don't anticipate this draft being the same as what we'll do in the live draft. Mitchell Trubisky should have a nice bounce back year starting for the Steelers, unless they do identify their guy in the draft and then they hand the keys to their guy. But I do believe he'll be the bridge quarterback, and he will definitely be the guy that's going to start this year. I do believe that J.D. McKissick should have a more productive year with the Carson Wentz. He, to me, should have signed with the Bills and not decide to go back to I don't even want to call them the Commanders. I couldn't even remember the team. They didn't have so many names. But the Commanders. He went back to the Commanders. Wasn't too involved as much, but I still believe he has good value in a PPR league. And this is late, so I'm adding players who I feel will have an impact on my team late. I do feel like my team is a bit older. And so for the rest of this draft, I'm going to try to get a little younger. I'm not drafting Julio. I think his best days are past him. He's still playing, but I don't think he's going to have a high impact like what my preference would be for my guys. So when I do my live draft, I will have players in my queue, or I'll have a list of players. So it'll be easier for me to kind of scroll through and see. So Robert Tonyan, I'm staying away from him. I like Greg Dulcich. I think that's how I pronounce it. I like him. I do like Tommy Tremble because I do believe there's a lot there. I do feel like Gerald Everett should have a much better year with the Chargers than he had with the Seattle Seahawks. Simply should be. CJ Uzamu, I feel like he's going to do, his stats will either go slightly down or be the same as what he produced when he was with Cincinnati. Also, there are quarterbacks here I could look at. There's not a quarterback that I'm seeing right now that I would draft, so I'm going to stay away from that position. And I don't want to draft Zach Moss, so I can look at some of these, either a wide receiver or the tight end. But I think Allen Lazard currently should be in the mix based on what the roster of Green Bay is today. Again, that roster should change because they may draft some wide receivers, and then that will ultimately determine what I do. Ryan Edwards, to me, is in the mix to have a breakout season for the Raiders. I do know that, they have obviously Devontae Adams, and then you got Hunter Renfrow, and then you have Darren Waller. So there still is a cap on his potential because they have these 3 other guys who are ahead of him. but I still believe he should have a solid season. So here, my great value is going to be Gerald Everett, because I do feel like there's going to be a lot going on with him this season for the Chargers. And so this draft is getting real tight. I'm just gonna come down here, and again, I could start multiple tight ends based on the setup of this league. So I'm looking to see, I don't care if Drew Lock is the current starter, I'm just simply staying away from him. So I look, Marlon Mack is someone who may be in the mix. I do look over here and I see that Austin Hooper is available, and I do believe that Austin Hooper is going to have a nice bounce back here. And some of these players I'm picking just so I can let you guys know exactly, what their value is. So I see that Marlon Mack was drafted. He signed with Houston, so currently he is the starting running back. If they don't add any more running backs, which I do expect them to do, but if they don't, then he is definitely a player to really watch and see if he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he'll have a really good season. Another player who I think is going to have some great value late is Crowder, signed with the Bills. So he should have a breakout, not even a breakout season, should have a comeback season, because with the Jets just didn't work, injured a lot. So that's a player to check for deep. I don't like Jalen Reagor. Zay Jones, another player I'm staying away from. A lot of people say Dwayne Eskridge will have a breakout year, but that's contingent upon if they do move on from DK, which I honestly think they're not going to move on from him. So I'm just going to say y'all not moving on from him. So this is getting real deep and late, and it's getting down to the, do I really want these players on my team? And so that's where you got to look, and you start adding, you look for value picks here. And again, with Crowder, that was another good pick. Also, we stay away from the Antonio Browns. So for the purposes of this draft, when I look, I don't trust John. I think OJ, you know what? Hayden Hurst. Look down here and see. Again, I'm picking players too also, because on this draft, in our real draft, I'm not going to have all these tight ends on my team. But Hayden Hurst is another player. I feel like he'll have either similar stats to what Uzamo had this past season for the Bengals, or he's going to have a better season. But what I will say is his season will be better statistically than what he has done over the last few years. So again, at the tight end position, there's a lot going on. Again, Kylan Granson is a player to keep an eye on late as well. Who else can I tell you guys about? Don't y'all talk about my team, because this team terrible, but there's not a lot of running backs that I would look for after. I wouldn't waste a pick on Mike Davis and running backs. So pretty much in a deep league like this, you get your running backs early because there's no value late. So your value is going to come from either the wide receiver or the tight end position in this draft, which isn't bad. Since we're looking, let me get this here. And I'm gonna do my draft on the phone, because I'm more comfortable on the phone and I think it's a little more user friendly. So for this draft, let's just go with Eskridge. Now, you could have drafted a Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard is a solid wide receiver in fantasy, but the issue with him is he's always hurt. And when you're always hurt, that is a huge problem. I was about to say, is that Kenneth Walker? But no, that's not the Kenneth Walker we're looking for. So, we're not going to draft him. I'm looking to see if Khalil Shakur was drafted yet. I'm going to assume he was, but I'm unable to search him here. But if he was still available, that would be a player that I'm looking at. But again, once it's deep like this, you're going to have to consider, like, McKinnon wouldn't be a bad pick if he was drafted already. I mean, if he was on a team already. We don't know where he's going to go. So he's a player that I'm like, I don't know what I would do with him. Tyrod Taylor, I'm going to take him since I do believe at some point he's going to take the starting job from Daniel Jones. And since my goal is to make sure that this redraft team is a team that I feel is going to be a competitive team, I'm going to look for players who I feel that are able to help my team immediately. And if he's going to be a player that is going to have an impact immediately, then he's a player I'll look at. I couldn't find Khalil Shakur, so I'm going to assume he was drafted. Isaiah McKenzie may have a breakout year, but I don't feel it's going to be on the level that people may think, because you're going to have Diggs, you're going to have obviously Crowder, and then you're also going to have Gabriel, so he's still going to be fourth. So I don't feel like his value in fantasy is anything other than you take a chance if someone is hurt or out. So as you can see, the tight end position the wide receiver position is even dried up. So what I'm looking for is players with potential upside, or players who I can put in my taxi squad. We see that Ricky Seals-Jones is going to be the starting tight end for the Giants. So I do feel like they'll utilize him a lot. So I can go here, but I want to go young if I can get the pick in.
Oh, come on, dude.
It didn't allow me to. But I was going to pick Charlie Kolar, but I couldn't get my little scrolling down. That's why, again, I'm going to use, when I do my live draft, I'll use my phone, because I'm having trouble scrolling with the app. That was the only knock for me, is I feel like so I'll let it just pick my players for the end. I feel like the desktop is not as user friendly as the mobile app, and so that's something that they'll improve on. Ty Johnson, I'll say he should be in the mix for the Jets, because you're gonna start in the season. If we're starting today, we're gonna assume that Michael Carter's the lead back, and then Ty Johnson will be that change of pace third down back. And he had a solid season last year in that role. Those two, Carter and Johnson, really complemented each other. So he would have value late in a deep league like this. Again, this type of league, when you look on waivers, there won't be many players available. So most of your moves are going to have to be via trade. We'll have to make trades in this league. I know a lot of these teams you're looking at and you're like, why is this guy drafted or that guy? But again, this is a deep league, so certain players will have value. Very good value. And a Darius Slayton, he may not be a player that's going to start, or who knows what's going to happen with him this upcoming season. But in a deep league like this, again, he's a player that will be drafted and most likely can go into someone's taxi squad. Let's see some other players here who may have the potential to have a breakout season. Anthony Schwartz may be a candidate for a breakout season, depending on what the Browns do going forward at the wide receiver position. You know, you only have one wide receiver who we know that they are capable of producing. We know he's capable of producing at a high level and is going to be very efficient, and that's Amari Cooper. We don't know if Peoples-Jones is going to be the next guy to take that next step, or Anthony Schwartz. We know that both of these guys have the opportunity, especially if they don't add anyone. They may try to bring Landry back. If they do, then that's going to me, knock Anthony Schwartz out, and Peoples-Jones will be that third guy. But, hell, they may draft someone. So, if not, then Schwartz should be in the mix to have a solid season going into year 2. Again, Kylan Granson is a player I'm looking at closely late, because I feel like he's going to have a breakout season. Didn't do much his rookie year. They had Mo Alley Cox, and you had Doyle just retire this season, and they re-signed Mo Alley Cox, I believe, to a 3-year deal. Kylan Granson, Mo Alley Cox, those are the two guys. Granson should have an impact this season. If nothing else, his season coming up is going to be much better statistically, because he'll be on the field more. He'll have more opportunities. So in a dynasty league, especially a deep league like this, he's a player that you can look at. We don't know what we don't know what the Falcons are going to do at quarterback in the draft, but what we do know is they have Marcus Mariota. He is a dual threat because he can run the ball. Not saying he's a great passer, but he still should be able to be competitive. So from a fantasy standpoint, you're going to want that quarterback who can run and throw. That's the opportunity to get you points in multiple categories at the quarterback position. So late, he's a quarterback you can look at extremely late in a deep league, as well as a super flex or a true quarterback league. And again, deep leagues. Players like this will be drafted in the deep league. Will Fuller, if he's able to reunite with Watson, then I expect him to have a bounce back season. Obviously, this past season was a disaster for him due to injuries. It's not like he would have done much with Tua as his quarterback, but it is what it is. As you look at this round 17, all the quarterbacks that were drafted, Davis Mills had a nice ending to the season, so I expect him to have a season better than last year, but I expect him to play comparative to what he did at the end of last season, if that makes sense. We do know that Elijah Moore is another guy who was on the verge of a breakout year, then he got hurt. Definitely going to be very good this year. He should hit at least 1,000 yards. Who else? Watson, if he's able to return because he resolves whatever issues or there's no suspension or anything, he will be the same Watson, top 5 quarterback in the NFL and in fantasy. I honestly feel like this may be a bit high for Trey Lance because we simply don't know if he's going to start. We know at some point he's going to start. But do we expect him to have a better season statistically than, say, a Watson who's most likely going to play or Hurts? No, but most people are drafting him based on his potential long term. But I think this is too early, even for a 2-quarterback league. CeeDee Lamb is definitely going to take several steps. He's going to be the lead guy. He was great last season. It's going to be even better this year. Javonte Williams, it is his backfield. Definitely one of the running backs you want to have in a dynasty league. It's his backfield. He's going to be over 1,000 yards or more this upcoming season. So you definitely should check for him. But let's see. Where CMC went, pick 11. Somebody's going to pick him. I will not pick CMC in the top 5 because I don't trust him. We know that he hasn't been able to stay healthy, so he's not a player that I would invest in a high draft pick. I don't think Chase is going to be drafted this early in this draft, but if he is, then that's going to be okay for that team. But for me, I would wait. But somebody's going to either, if he doesn't go somewhere here late first, he's definitely going early second round. So somebody may try to get Joe Burrow late and then snatch up Chase soon after. But if you can't get Chase and you have Joe Burrow, then you definitely can look at T. Higgins. I do feel like Tyler Boyd's stock is slightly down a bit because he is third in regards to targets. He's going to finish behind Chase and Higgins, and then there's just going to be that uncertainty. You won't know which games he's going to get off or which games he's going to be in the mix. So that can be an issue. Michael Carter should have a much better season than this past year. Didn't start off the season as the starter. If we started today, would be the starter, and I expect him to produce. Judy and Cortland Sutton, I am checking for and expecting some great things from both of those guys this year because you know what? They have a legit quarterback. When you have a legit quarterback, you have an opportunity. And at the tight end position for Denver, I expect Alberto, I call him Alberto so I don't hack up his name. I expect him to have a good season this year as well because you got to think he was good at times in the limited role he had with Denver because they had Noah Fant. Well, he should be the lead guy for Denver this year and should be very, very good. So he's a player that you can look at as well. Let me see if there's anyone else. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell is going to be good this year. There's no sleepers in regards to Elijah Mitchell. There's not going to be any surprises here. So when you draft him with confidence, and he's the lead guy going into the season. Raheem Mostert is no longer in the building. Trey Sermon didn't have the season that anyone expected, and Mitchell is the lead guy. So we're going to say that he's definitely going to have a better year. I want to see him more involved in the passing game. That is going to be a plus for him, especially in PPR. I'm staying away from Marshall. I'm staying away from Terrace Marshall, and I'm also, again, staying away from Corey Davis. I think Osborne will be slightly better this year, but again, we are drafting players like Osborne and Van Jefferson because this is a deep league. So most of these players will be drafted. In normal smaller leagues, these guys will be on your radar on waivers, but for this type of league, they'll be on rosters. For rookie purposes, Greg Dulcich is a solid young rookie. I couldn't find Khalil Shakur, but he's a really good pick late as well. I couldn't find his name, but I'm sure he was drafted. All right, y'all. Let me know what your thoughts are of this mock draft. That was long as hell, but nonetheless, we'll do more of these to get ready for the upcoming season and hopefully stay ahead of our competition and be competitive as hell, because that is the goal, to be competitive, not just for one season, because it's a dynasty league. This is not redraft, so your mind has to think differently. You have to approach it different. You have to approach Dynasty totally differently than what you would approach a redraft league. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that like button. Also, make sure your notifications are turned on. And leave some comments and let me know what players you are targeting in a startup Dynasty league. And also, let me know what you guys think I should do with the third pick in the draft. And remember, 2 quarterback league, 2 tight end league. Have a great week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast.